Hello. Let's take a look at JSON. I know you've seen JSON before, and if you haven't, we'll take a look at it shortly. JSON is short for JavaScript Object Notation, a minimal readable format for structuring data. So it kind of looks like this. This is something you'd see in a JavaScript object, where you'd have this so-called properties or keys, and then corresponding values. And it can go as deep as this. This is a nested one, right? So we have a collection key, which has a value of another object, which has a series of key value pairs. This is a key and this is a value. So the same happens here, where this was a key and its value was yet another collection of key value pairs. So a key is always a string enclosed in quotation marks. So if we quickly take a look at some examples, we can go into Node and create some quick objects. So this one can be name. And I'll have my name here. That's it. When I type obj, I see that, right? So it doesn't matter how you start it here. Well, if there's spaces in here, you'd have to put it in quotations prior to. Let's have another object too. This one can be put in here. And something like that. Obj2, same thing, no big effect. So those are some rules that you can see here. There's always a key, and this key has to be unique, and there's always a value. Any key value pair is differentiated or separated by a colon, and the so-called values could be arrays, they could be booleans, true or false. So we can have maybe obj2, we can set a value of eaten, false, and then we type obj2, right? So this is a Boolean example. We can also have a bunch of arrays. So we can say something like historic moments, and I suppose this could be important dates in someone's life. 2010, 2015, there could be marriages, anniversaries, and so on. So when you type obj2, you'll see that this is an array. So the values can have arrays in them. They could also be strings, which we've seen here. They could be booleans. They could also be other objects as well. So let's add another object, obj2. Let's call it movies. And I suppose we could have something like movie 1, ABC, and movie 2, DEF. When you type obj2, you'll see that this is a key and it has values. Now, how are we going to do this in Node? So Node allows you to do plenty of cool thing, right? So let's start off by let's create another server. Sorry about the naming here. I'll create a folder, make dir servers, go into servers, oops, then npm init. Let's press enter all the way. Yep. Okay, and in here, I'm going to quickly create a server.js, and I'll open it in my editor. And here. So let's go about creating a simple server that serves JSON data. So the first step is we require the HTTP module. The next step is we create an instance of the server. Create server. This one will take in a callback. And this callback takes in a request object and a response object. So let's make sure that these match. So, yep, seems legit. Let's carry on. Okay. We can immediately start to listen to port 8000 and then type a quick message saying, hey, we're listening on port 8000. Okay. But server.js, that's it. So when you go in here and we type localhost 8000, it goes in an ever-ending loop. This is because our server is doing nothing yet. So in the past, you've seen us do something like this: response write hello world, and then we type that. So let's refresh this page, and that's it. We have a simple hello world back again, right? Okay. This very function here can take in an object. So let's say we can reuse some of our examples from before. I suppose you could do something like that. Let's copy this. Put it in here. What's this? Call that names. Okay, and let's try to just type names and see what happens. So when we stop this and we start that, nothing happens. It actually broke. It doesn't know what to do with an object names. So this is where another method called JSON.stringify comes in. And we save and refresh and restart our server and place that. We see a nice looking object that gets returned to us. Okay. We are going to take a look at an echo server. So what is an echo server? An echo server is a server that does nothing more than sending back whatever is sent to it, hence the name echo. What can you use it for? Whatever you feel like. So practical applications can be network and connectivity testing and a bunch of things like that. So let's see here, for example, someone uses the echo D to send a bunch of numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, and those numbers are received elsewhere here in the second client. Okay, so we are going to quickly design our own echo server. It's going to be a slightly different variant, and let's take a look at what we can do. So the goal is we pass in a particular item and then work with it. So let's take a quick look at what the console object looks like. Okay, request, and let's start afresh. Let's do that. And we refresh this page. This is a bunch of things that gets dumped on us. Okay, this is what the request object looks like. However, let's see. I suppose we could try to find out what the headers are, right? So for example, when I send that /host, I should get something representing the host. Right now you see that when I go in here, it still gives me everything. So let's try to return just these headers and see what it looks like. So we can do that by typing dot headers and refresh our server, start afresh, like that. See, these are the headers that we have. Now your goal, well, at least our goal right now, is when we type /host, we get this back. So what can we do? what does the request object do to us? Well, let's comment this out. We can take a look at another part of the request object. So request.params is a nice one. So that returns nothing for us right now, but let's see, request URL, and refresh this, we get a URL. See this nice one? Host. Okay, now let's design something that strips or extracts something from that URL and brings us this host in here from the headers, so that we can have so if I'm to copy this thing here and close and start my node and create a quick string with that, we could split this item by its slashes, and then we pick off the host. Or we could splice it at 1 onwards. Oh, this is going to be a very long function if we use splice. Sorry about that. Let's stick to splitting and getting the first item. The first item, which is 1. Okay, so we get the host, right? So let's get that. Copy it here. Okay, so our goal is we get a simple parameter, and the parameter can be found in our request.url. Okay, so that parameter. So the goal is we want to see what the header when we pass that parameter looks like. So let's type request headers param and save and refresh our server, refresh site, and there you see localhost. Okay, the other things that we saw in the headers, so let's log them again just for the sake of clarity. Okay, so let's see, can we get the connection, the accept? We can stop at, well, I think we'll just keep it simple. Let's just get the first thing, the cache control and all that, then return that. So, okay. That will be put there for commenting purposes. Then we save and remove that. Let's just log it for now. Okay, so we remove that request. Let's store the data we receive in its own variable, and let's stringify it. JSON.stringify, and let's see. We can just adjust it slightly. So what we'll do is we'll put this inside its own object and type something like param. Okay, and then let's get rid of this right and type data. Save. We'll cancel our server and start afresh and then refresh. That's it. See that nice one that gets returned to us. So we did copy a bunch of things from the previous logs, for instance. What happens if we changed it to connection? Let's change it to connection and see. Enter. It says param keep alive. So whatever we typed in gets kind of echoed back right to us. Well, I hope this kind of shows you the prospects behind building something. So this is going to be a small exercise. So the goal is, can you design something such that when I type my name and I press enter, something like that, although not yet, gets returned. Well, I want it to have hello and my name printed out, something like that. So if I keep changing, it keeps returning a JSON input where the first key is hello and something else. Well, it looks counterintuitive, but this is one way of learning. Hello learning, and so on. Good luck with this assignment.